and Mr. Koyan Roberts. We're happy to have you here with them facilitating that visit. This morning we are starting today's activities with a flag raising to recognize the Commonwealth, which is a group of 56 nations coming together to celebrate what we have in common and working together. Today I want to just outline this year's theme, which is unlocking opportunities together for a prosperous Commonwealth. And today we celebrate our brothers and sisters throughout the world as we all recognize, and Victor of course will speak to this, some of the opportunities and some of the collaborations that Commonwealth countries have been able to work along with each other in order to promote prosperity and just goodwill throughout the Commonwealth. At this particular juncture, I'd like to move right along into the flag raising, and we will start with the raising of the hoisting rather of Grenada's flag. And to do so, we have Officer Inspector James who will assist us with that. And so we would invite our friend from the Ministry of Youth who will play the national anthem via steel pan, and I'll invite everyone to stand at this juncture. I'll invite you to remain standing as we get ready for the hoisting of the Commonwealth flag.
Every man, woman and child sits on the shoulders of previous generations, inheriting the courage and discovery of those who went before, and the opportunity to learn the lessons of the past and to build for a better future. In this way, on the 26th of April 1949, the modern Commonwealth was born out of the international collaboration that had been generated throughout the First and Second World Wars. In an act of continuum, the political leaders in the second half of the 1940s were determined not to lose this spirit of international brotherhood and mutual support. With King George VI at its head, the Commonwealth of Nations was first established as a voluntary group of 8 independent countries: Australia, Canada, Ceylon, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. Today, the Commonwealth comprises 52 nations across all 6 inhabited regions of the globe: Africa, the Americas, Asia, the Caribbean, Europe, and the Pacific. Each of the 52 independent nations is an equal stakeholder, and with national populations ranging from 9,600 to 1.3 billion, and with multifarious races and faiths, the Commonwealth encapsulates the concept of embracing diversity. When King George VI died on the 6th of February 1952, the Commonwealth heads of government invited the young Queen Elizabeth II to become head of the Commonwealth. For 65 years, Her Majesty has been and continues to be a constant and supreme uniting influence, with a unique presence and personal style which can never be replicated. The 21st century Commonwealth, now in its 68th year, is building on its dynamic legacy and heritage, with international engagement and diversity at its core, and the opportunity to maximize individual, national and international potential, it offers the possibility to be a model of mutual human respect, support and understanding.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, at this juncture, I will call on Resident British Commissioner to Grenada, Mr. Victor Clark, to deliver some very brief remarks to you. And I do apologize for the heat, but we'll try to make it as brief as possible.
Good morning, Madam President, Decima Williams, President of the Senate, Minister Thomas, Minister of Youth and Sports, PSs, officials from the Parliament, students, youth, distinguished youth parliamentarians, our visitors today. Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to join you on this Commonwealth Day. Supporting young people and creating the space and opportunities for you to lead is central to the Commonwealth core mission. It is therefore my honour to stand with you today as you take part in this session of the Youth Parliament. Later this year, Commonwealth heads of government will meet in Antigua and Barbuda to chart the next steps for our family of nations. But the ideas, the innovation and the energy that shape the Commonwealth's future begin with its young people. Across nearly 3 billion citizens, across every inhabited continent, your voices matter, and your leadership will define the Commonwealth of tomorrow. As we have already raised the flags of Grenada and the Commonwealth, I wish to share two very short passages from His Majesty the King's Commonwealth Day message for 2026. Begins, "We join together on this Commonwealth Day at a time of great challenge and great possibility. Across our world, communities and nations face the increasing pressures of conflict, climate change and rapid transformation. Yet it is often in such testing moments that the enduring spirit of the Commonwealth is most clearly revealed. Working together, we can ensure that the Commonwealth continues to stand as a force for good, grounded in community, committed to the kind of restorative sustainability that has a return on investment, enriched by culture, steadfast in its care for our planet, and united in friendship in the service of its people. These words speak directly to the role that you all play today. Your debates, your ideas, and your leadership are not abstract exercises. They are contributions to the values and direction of the Commonwealth itself. Therefore, I wish you all fruitful, engaging, and impactful discussions today, and I thank you for the dedication and passion that you bring to public service now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. At this point, we'll move right along, and I'll now invite President of the Senate, Honorable Decima Williams, to deliver her remarks.
Good morning. Welcome to all. Honorable Minister Delma Thomas, British Commissioner in Grenada, my dear friend Victor Clark, Acting Clerk of the Parliament, Ms. Melvina Galston, all other Senator Civil Francis, I see you there, all other members of government, Ms. Palmer, my devoted assistant, all other members of government, of Parliament, and in particular young people, and in particular youth parliamentarians. I also wish to give a special welcome to the visiting delegation of students from the United States led by Nicoyan Roberts. I was going to say boys and girls, I'm cautious. But you know, when you get to be my age, anything below that is boys and girls. Young adults, youth parliamentarians, it's a great pleasure to be here. First of all, let me wish you happy Commonwealth Day, a day that is given to partnership, to cooperation, to diversity. I also wish, before I go on, to belatedly wish you happy International Women's Day, just celebrated 24 hours ago. And thus it is that I'm wearing my CWP brooch, Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, of which I'm a proud member, and has been chaired by our Speaker of the House from Belize in the past. I begin therefore in combining these two celebrations of International Women's Day and Commonwealth Day by highlighting women in the Commonwealth, young women, mature women. You would know that the Commonwealth has been administered by a number of extraordinary international civil servants, two of whom have come from the Caribbean. Sir Citral Ramphal from Guyana, and our dear friend whose name immediately escapes me, a British Dominican, just left office, Dame Patricia Scotland, Dame Patricia Scotland, thank you. And now the Commonwealth Secretary General is again another woman, Shirley Bouchoué of Ghana. And that represents the rise of women's leadership in the Commonwealth and of course diversity within the Commonwealth. And so this is your inheritance an organization that is 56 members strong and expanding. I have noticed over the last just about 5 years probably, countries that had nothing to do with the British Empire or the British Commonwealth or the outcome of that are now interested in joining the Commonwealth. It is said that it is the second largest international organization in the world after the United Nations. Grenada belongs to both, and therefore it is that Grenada provides a platform for you young people to be active at the global level, in this case in the context of the Commonwealth. And I know that many of you are taking advantage of it. I see Mr. Andal back there. I know he travels and represents Grenada abroad. So the youth wing of the Commonwealth is an important dimension of what the organization intends to accomplish. I would like to highlight the remarks made by the Secretary General, Honorable Shirley Botchway, Secretary General, this year in her Commonwealth message. She spoke of the value of cooperation in bringing about peace and prosperity. Cooperation, whether it is through solidarity, partnerships, trade, exchanges, various forms of partnerships can together strengthen our hand. And this is a very feminist perspective of the world. Working together, we can really move more than when we just work alone. And to work together in a form of cooperation. And this has been also a tradition here in Grenada. From the community on, we have always felt the value and the power of working together. So this is part of what we focus on today. When you go into the chamber and debate your resolution today, although it's a debate, it's a cooperation. I just want to remind you that being in opposition to a point of view or a perspective or a bill doesn't mean criticism. It means critique. And there's a big difference. You may criticize, but you must critique. You must analyze its value. Don't omit that. Don't just look for what is wrong, but look for what is valid, what is valuable, what has the potential to yield the result intended, and what you can add to that. And so it is, I hope you will do that in your membership in the Commonwealth as a youth. Don't just criticize, critique, which means you add value. And I think the Commonwealth platform of today certainly allows you to do that, to add value. We are hungry in Grenada for this intergenerational conversation and cooperation that will take us forward in these very turbulent times. I look forward then to your contributions. You are a small number for the population of youth in Grenada, but each of you is a powerhouse. And I want you, whether you are male or whether you are female, to see yourself not just as a contributor, but as a change agent who can take us most sturdily into the 21st century. So welcome to the Parliament. Happy International Women's Day. Happy Commonwealth Day. And may your lives be satisfactory for you and for Grenada and the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your wonderful words of wisdom. Moving right along, I will now invite a representative from the Ministry of Youth for any announcements regarding the Youth Parliament or anything. If there's anything to say, I'll give you the opportunity to do so. Okay. If not, we'll move right along. So now I'll invite everyone to just remain where you're seated so we can have a group photo. and then we can move into the youth parliament. So just a few more minutes in the hot sun, not too much.
survey. That's a GPS survey test close to the road. So we'll sit down with a chat with them. Let's see what they have about their proposal for the next couple of weeks as part of that event. And then at some point, maybe we'll find some time that we can sit down and talk about some foreign policy and how policy works, how the Commission works, and how everything kind of functions. And then, I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but we also have a reception in the evening.
She's well accomplished, but not going to be for the evening. But if you guys want to, if you guys want to, then y'all do that.
Let us pray. Guide we, beseech thee, Almighty God, members of this honorable house, that they may wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name. Honorable members, please join with me as we say together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pray be seated. This honorable house is now in session.
Oath of allegiance of a new member. Confirmation of minutes.
Honorable member.
I beg to move that the minutes of the National Youth Parliament held on the on the 26th of November, 2025, sorry, be taken as read.
Honorable members, the question proposed is that the minutes of the meeting of the National Youth Parliament held at Mount Weldale, St. George, on the 26th day of November 2025 be taken as read. Honorable members, the question proposed is that the minutes of the meeting of the National Youth Parliament held at Mount Weldale on the 26th day of November 2025 be taken as read. As many are of the opinion, say aye. Those of the contrary, nay.
Aye.
Aye.
I think the ayes have it. The ayes do have it.
Messages from the Governor General. Announcements by Mr. Speaker.
The President of the Senate, Decimal Williams, Minister for Youth and Sports and Mental Health, Honorable Delma Thomas, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Sports, Senator Cyril Francis, Acting Clerk of Parliament, Melvina Gulston, British Resident Commissioner, Victor Clark, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Kim Frederick, other Permanent Secretaries, Coordinator of the Youth, Ms. Colleen Perman, staff at the Division of Youth, and all other attendees who are here as strangers in the gallery, good morning. Honorable members, it is indeed a pleasure to be here today for this sitting on such a day. Before I continue, allow me to wish the women of this honorable house a happy International Women's Day. Though, I must admit, I am a day late, I want you to know that you are appreciated and that you should keep focused and keep being the inspiration and the light that you are to the young people of this nation. Additionally, on this Commonwealth Day, we celebrate the power of youthful voices in shaping a resilient and democratic future. As we reflect on our shared values, let us continue to lead with integrity, inclusion, and a commitment to transformative service. Now, before we continue, please allow me to give a few rules that will be guiding this honorable house. Only one member may be standing at a given time when doing his or her speech. Any member may bring a motion or resolution for the consideration of the House. Members may not speak on any matter that has been decided on by vote in the House or that has already been ruled by. And for you, members or strangers in the gallery, please ensure that you keep your devices on silent or preferably off, as we do not want any distraction or disturbances here in this honorable house. Please be guided by these rules as we move forward. And finally, I wish to express the regrets for the youth member for St. George's Northwest and the youth member for the town of St. George's who sadly were not able to make it for this debate. This concludes my announcements.
Constituency statements.
Honorable Youth Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. Mrs. Speaker, again, I'd like to echo the same sentiments you echoed. I'd like to express, although I myself is a day late, express a happy International Women's Day to everyone who is looking at this initiative. Mr. Speaker, during the last quarter to quarter and a half, ending of Q4 2025 into Q1 2026, my primary focus in my constituency was the implementation of a community project called the Climate Change and Health Awareness Initiative. It was done in collaboration with AHO, along with a $4,000 grant, Mr. Speaker, as well as the CARICOM Secretariat, and in collaboration with the Youth Ambassador for St. Andrews Southeast, Zadie Barry. Mr. Speaker, the project focused on educating young students about the connection between climate change, the environment, environmental responsibility, and health and wealth, while encouraging them to adopt stable, simple, practical habits to support both environmental protection and personal well-being. Mr. Speaker, as part of the implementation, 10 primary schools across my constituency were visited, reaching approximately 384 grade 4 students, along with several teachers and school staff through structured, interactive climate change and health awareness sessions. During these school visits, Mr. Speaker, students were introduced to key topics, including the basic meaning of climate change and its major causes such as pollution, waste, environmental degradation, how climate change is already affecting life here in Grenada, including hotter temperatures, heavier rainfall, flooding, environmental changes affecting weather and our food systems, the health impacts associated with climate change, including dehydration, heat exhaustion during extreme heat, increased mosquito breeding after flooding, and respiratory problems linked to smoke and dust. Practical actions, Mr. Speaker, we taught them practical actions that they can take back to their homes to teach their peers, to teach their parents on how to recycle, the 3 R's, Mr. Speaker. These sessions were designed to be interactive, simple, and engaging for younger students, using discussions, activity-based planning, and learning to help students connect and learn about environmental awareness to improve their everyday behavior. Mr. Speaker, due to the scale and coordination needed for this project to visit multiple schools, organize the sessions, and manage the project deliverables, a significant portion of, like I mentioned, Q4 going into Q1 2026 was dedicated toward planning and executing this initiative. Despite several adjustments as a result of school schedules and minor logistical challenges, the program was successfully delivered and made a meaningful contribution to increasing youth awareness of environmental responsibility and climate-related health issues within the parish. In addition to that major project, Mr. Speaker, smaller community engagements were held. One of them, Mr. Speaker, being a pool competition in my village, Lakabeke. And Mr. Speaker, I must give the boys the kudos. I never know them boy bad in pool, so I get relics. And Mr. Speaker, based on the positive responses from the residents, there are plans with my team and I to expand this into different areas of the community, Mr. Speaker. Although it started in Lakabeke, the idea is to expand it to all the other villages. Mr. Speaker, again, I'd like to express a thank you, a deep, heartfelt thank you to the Ashley Lashley Foundation, who is a part of the Climate Change and Health Project, the CARICOM Secretariat, and PAHO for the $4,000 USD grant. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Youth Prime Minister. Honorable Youth Member for Carriacou and Petite Martinique.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of this honorable House, I too would like to join in to say Happy International Women's Day and Happy Commonwealth Day as well. I rise to present a constituency update highlighting initiatives undertaken within the constituency of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report on the successful launch of the Prep for Success program held on the 28th of January 2026, which rolled out across all 6 primary schools within the constituency over a 3-day period. This initiative goes far beyond simply providing school supplies. Just as a plumber who cannot work without the proper tools, a student cannot fully engage in learning without the resources they need. And by placing these supplies into the hands of our young people, we are equipping them with the tools to build a strong foundation for their education and their future. Mr. Speaker, programs like these hold a special meaning for me as they reflect the support that once helped me and many other students along the way. Mr. Speaker, through the generosity and collective efforts of members within our community, we were able to raise over $2,000, which made the procurement and distribution of the supplies possible. In addition to school supplies, each school received 4 cases of water, an important resource much needed in our sister isles. Furthermore, cases of fruit juices were supplied to all the primary schools on our sister isles, thanks to the George F. Huggins, who answered the call to support our students. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, in partnership with Palm Tree Vibes, we were able to support young creatives by assisting with the provision and packaging of food hampers for young artists participating in the foundation competition held on the 8th of February. This collaboration reflects our willingness to stand alongside our young people, not only in education, but also in creativity, culture, and self-expression. Thirdly, we responded to a call for assistance from the Dover Government School, where it was brought to attention that several students were attending school without having breakfast. Mr. Speaker, this touched me, honestly. And as we all know, breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day, and without it, students may struggle to concentrate and perform at their best. We were therefore pleased to support this initiative started by the school's principal, Mr. Madison, to ensure that the students begin their day nourished and ready to learn. Finally, Mr. Speaker, Youth on the Block initiative, hosted in collaboration with the Division of Youth for Carriacou and Petite Martinique, took place in the Mangrove on the 28th of February. This aims to create a space for young people to connect, socialize, and access services in their own communities. And we plan to continue hosting similar initiatives like these to ensure we strengthen the relationship with our youth and ensure that they do not feel disconnected from the opportunities available. In closing, Mr. Speaker, while these initiatives represent meaningful progress, there is still much more work to be done. However, I remain fully committed, step by step, initiative by initiative, to work on behalf of my constituency and the place we proudly call home, Carriacou and Petite Martinique. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth Member for St. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I want to join my colleagues in wishing all the wonderful mothers, sisters, aunties, all the wonderful women happy International Women's Day. You are the backbone of our society, and don't let anyone take away your power. Pertaining to my constituency statement, Mr. Speaker, on the 8th of December 2025, that's last quarter, my team and I, in collaboration with the Youth MP for St. John and the Fisheries, along with the Fisheries Division, the NIS and the GDB, has successfully hosted a financial seminar named Fishing for Success, where presenters from NIS, GDB, and the Fisheries Office, and the Fisheries Officer, Mrs. Churcham, made presentations to the fisher folk of St. Mark, St. John in the areas of financial management, importance of paying into social security plan, low interest loans, and so forth. I'll be short. I just want to thank those fisher folks for coming out and being part of this initiative. The idea was to do something for the fisher folks of St. Mark. For a while, they have been talking about certain things not being done, so it was, and knowing that a lot of young persons getting into the fishing sector, it was a way to help them to understand, to get to understand ways and the importance of paying to Social Security, being able to access low interest loans, and looking at fishing as a business instead of just a hobby, and the importance it holds in our country. So again, I just want to say a special thanks to the fisher folks for coming out. I want to say a special thanks to the presenters from GDB, NIS, and the Fisheries Division. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth MP for St. George Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too would like to add in my congratulations on recognizing and acknowledging the women that make our society, the women that support our society, and the women that make our lives better. Happy International Women's Day. Mr. Speaker, please allow me to bring some brief updates on some initiatives that have been completed and initiatives that are currently underway. Mr. Speaker, I am happy to report the successful execution of our Family Fund Day during the month of December that brought together family and youth alike and provided an opportunity for youth and community engagement. Mr. Speaker, I am also pleased to report at this time that the procurement process for our Urban Gardens project has been completed despite some initial delays. During this quarter, we also received the necessary permissions from the Ministry of Education, which is allowing us to move forward. And so we anticipate that the project will be rolling into its implementation phase in short order. Again, I want to remind us that the gardens serve to provide a platform for youths in schools to engage in food production, sustainability, and community development. I am also happy to report that in this quarter, I was engaged and will be partnering with the National Chronic Non-Communicable Disease Commission of Grenada in rolling out a childhood obesity initiative in the coming weeks. This seeks to strengthen national awareness, Mr. Speaker, of preventive action surrounding childhood obesity, youth health, nutrition, and educational development. Today, it would be remiss of me, Mr. Speaker, if I stood here and not take the time to express heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the young people of the community of Willis and the constituency to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Permanent Secretary Kim Frederick, Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Delma Thomas, the team at Community Development, Parliamentary Representative Honorable Ron Redhead, and Mr. Dylan Mitchell of Dylan's Electrical for the tedious work undertaken to revive, bring back to life the lights at the Willis playing field. I have lobbied for this over years now, and we are happy to report that the lights have been tested and they are on. Mr. Speaker, we are thankful. Mr. Speaker, again, we look forward to doing the work of the community and the constituency, and as we say on my side of the fence, the work continues. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Youth Member for St. David.
It is good to be back. But before I commence my constituency statement, I want to formally wish a happy Commonwealth Day to the members of the gallery, as well as to our women, a happy, belated International Women's Day. In a world that often tests your spirit, you rise with grace, reminding us of your strength and the quiet value you carry. Mr. Speaker, last year I stood in these halls with a commitment to the young people of St. David, who entrusted me with the role of Youth MP. Looking back at these past 12 months, it's safe to say that we've been busy, but we are getting there, and we are getting there. After a 7-year hiatus that left a noticeable cultural gap in our parish, we finally brought back a community bonfire to Vincent's. We called it Fire and Folklore. And honestly, the turnout was as bright as the flames. We had the young, we had the elderly sharing the same space, enjoying free food, drinks, and a much-needed dose of togetherness. We were treated to the wisdom of storytellers such as Francis Urias Peters and Michael Senator Mitchell, alongside the incredible talents of Shiloh Alexander, Sonaika Maki, the Chromatic Folk Group, and the Windsor Forest String Band. To everyone who helped fan the flames of this event, thank you. It simply wouldn't have been the same without your hands on deck. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, I recently celebrated my 2nd year of donating medals and trophies to the St. David's Catholic Secondary School. And just a quick warning to the schools present in the gallery, they're coming for intercall. Looking ahead, Mr. Speaker, I am committed to championing mental health and gender-based violence initiatives because the need is simply too great. to ignore. We see the impacts of these issues in our communities. While these challenges may feel like a Herculean task, I am determined to do my part, bit by bit, to chip away at the stigma until our support systems are as strong as the people they serve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth Member for St. Andrew Northeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to everyone in the gallery, especially to the women. I would continue to say Happy International Women's Day and also Happy Commonwealth Day to each and every one of you. As I have done in similar manner at sit-ins, I would like to provide updates on activities and initiatives that has been carried out in my constituency. At the last address, I did indicate that we had a final project that we were doing to close of the year, and it was called Beyond the Journey, a Christmas retreat for teen moms and dad, and we have successfully completed what we have set out to do. In Grenada, too many teen mothers and fathers navigate parenthood in silence. Every year, young mothers and fathers across Grenada face the holidays with not so much joy, but with quite worry. How to provide, how to be accepted, how to move forward. Stigma, financial strain, and the loss of educational opportunities often leave them isolated and their confidence eroded. So Beyond the Journey was created to offer a different story, one of hope, belonging, and empowerment. Our objectives were simple and clear. It was to equip participants with practical tools for mental health, self-worth, and resilience. It was also to foster connection between young parents and institutions that can support their education and employment and well-being. And we did so through a panel discussion where we had various ministerial voices present. We also endeavored to restore dignity through gift giving and community care during the Christmas season. So we also had a segment where we had persons to babysit so that the parents can truly enjoy the session without worrying about care for their children. And at the end, we were able to give the children toys as well as food hampers for the parents to take home for the Christmas season. And of course, by doing so, we strengthen partnership among civil society, the government, and other organizations. After Beyond the Journey, we continued to work within the community. And it pains me that we experienced a loss in St. Andrews Northeast that was very graphic, very hard to grapple with as a woman. And it would have been remiss of me to not address it. You know, as a woman, we have to be extra careful simply because we are women. That's the reality of the life we live in. And it is important that we raise awareness that we deserve protection. We deserve to feel safe in our community, safe to go to school, safe to go to work. And so when we had that great loss, I stepped out to lend my voice to the conversation to end domestic violence against women. I also recently appeared on Beyond the Headlines to discuss the issue and to share what can be done to ensure that we feel safe in our communities. We say rest in peace to those who have lost their lives to domestic violence. And we pray God's comfort on the families. Further, Mr. Speaker, Youth representatives from my community participated in a focus group discussion to lend our voices on the issue of mental health and suicide prevention. That was done last September in partnership with UNICEF, led by a youth representative, Zadie Barry. And this was done as Grenada seeks to develop its first suicide prevention plan. Mr. Speaker, if I were to recap all that my team and I have achieved thus far for 2025, I can proudly say that our manifesto is a living document. We have touched every pillar that we promised to address. I made a promise that a vote for me was a vote for you, and it indeed reflects that. I will continue to serve and create opportunities for young people to realize their dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Youth Member for St. John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed a pleasure to stand among the radiant women and youth of our tri-island nation. And of course, as my colleagues would have recently done, I extend a happy International Women's Day to you, but with a reminder to our girls and women that you are important. We see you. Your voice and your desires, they matter. Mr. Speaker, we often hear that the youth are the today or our future. But I want to remind our youth that the foundation that was laid by our seniors, and for that we should be grateful. As a youth advocate, I do not simply focus all my initiatives on youth development, but also community resilience and development for all. At our last sitting, I would have stated some initiatives that my team and I would like to embark on. And today, I stand proudly and I say, over the Christmas holiday, my team and I would have visited the Hillsview Homes for the Aged in Guelph, St. John, Mr. Speaker. On December 13th, myself and Mr. George from the St. John's RC School would have assisted with power washing the facility. Grenadians, remember, our history lies with our ancestors. They are full of knowledge and wisdom, and if we continue to ignore them, then our future is doomed. To further add to this, Mr. Speaker, on December 14th, myself and Mr. Alvin Britton and his team again visited the Hillsview Home for the Aged, and we would have assisted with cleaning up the grounds. I must say thank you to Huggins Grenada, the Farm and Garden Department, for helping us to provide a weed whacker, or what we call a weed eater, to assist the homes with their cleaning up process. Grenadians, on December 27th, I want to say thank you to the Royal Grenada Police Band for taking up the mantle to assist us with the Legacy Kinship, an afternoon of rhymes and tradition fundraising concert, again, for the Hillsview Homes in Guelph, St. John. Thank you to Mr. Killer for his special performance. Thank you to the St. John's Youth Ambassadors for taking the initiative to be a part. Thank you to the St. John's Lions Club for being there. Thank you to the Grenada Breweries. Thank you to the Grenada Bottling Company Limited for the services and items they would have provided for this initiative. Thank you to Glenegg Spring Water, Mr. Speaker. There are so many people, including Wagiti, that would have assisted in pulling off this initiative. Again, remember, if we do not show our seniors that we care for them and that we love them, then our hope is lost. Now going forward, Mr. Speaker, we are proud to say that our Huelai GPS navigation training for St. John and St. Mark will commence this Saturday with the Royal Grenada Coast Guard. Again, safety at sea is important. And with all our initiatives, we do have an open invitation for St. Mark. Therefore, our participants are from St. John and St. Mark. And being on the initiative of open invitation, Mr. Speaker, in November, my team and I would have had the first aid and CPR training program, again, for St. John and St. Mark. The St. Rose Modern Secondary School, the St. Mark's Secondary School, and NULO were invited to this training at SGU. My team and I remain committed to serving both the youth and seniors of our Tri-Island state. And one of our final projects for this year, Mr. Speaker, myself and the Youth Ambassador for St. Mark's, Ms. Carol Cyrus, are looking to launch a breakfast feeding program for students in St. John's Christian Secondary School. As she would have mentioned, Mr. Speaker, some of the students may struggle because they do not have a meal when they leave home. It is our initiative to make an impact and to make a change on the lives of these students. So thank you, and we remain committed to bringing positive change for all.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Petitions. Personal explanations. Motions.
Honorable Youth Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move for the adoption of the following resolution standing in my name. Whereas Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are highly vulnerable to adverse impacts of climate change due to their small size, coastal geography, and dependence on climate-sensitive economic sectors, and whereas Grenada has experienced increasing intensity of hurricanes, storm surges, flooding, droughts, coastal erosion, coastal reef degradation, and rising sea levels, all of which threaten national development, food security, infrastructure, biodiversity, and public health. And whereas climate-related disasters place a disproportionate financial burden on Grenada, diverting national resources from education, healthcare, and economic growth while increasing public debt. And whereas Grenada has demonstrated leadership in climate action through its nationally determined contributions, disaster risk reduction policies, and regional international climate advocacy, and whereas meaningful climate action is essential to safeguarding Grenada's people, culture, livelihoods, and natural heritage for present and future generations, be it resolved that Grenada accelerates the transition to renewable energy by reducing reliance on fossil fuel imports, expands solar, wind, geothermal, and ocean energy initiatives, and support energy efficiency and community-based renewable projects. Be it further resolved that the 2027 budget provides significant allocations to support sustainable development in key economic sectors, particularly in the areas of climate-smart agriculture to enhance food security and protect farmers' livelihood, sustainable fisheries, and marine conservation, and a resilient and environmentally responsible tourism sector.
Honorable members, the question proposed to the National Youth Parliament is, be it resolved that Grenada accelerates the transition to renewable energy by reducing reliance on fossil fuel imports, expand solar wind, geothermal and ocean energy initiatives, and support energy efficiency and community-based renewable projects. Be it further resolved that the 2027 budget provides significant allocations to support sustainable development in key economic sectors, particularly in the areas of climate smart agriculture to enhance food security and protect farmers' livelihoods, sustainable fisheries and marine conservation, and a resilient and environmentally responsible tourism sector. Honorable Youth Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this resolution. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, good morning. There are moments in the life of a nation when the evidence becomes too overwhelming to ignore. This is one of those moments, Mr. Speaker. Across the Caribbean, climate change is no longer a distant prediction in a scientific report. It is a daily reality shaping our economies, communities, and our future. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and Regional Disaster Data, Mr. Speaker, climate-related hazards have affected more than 24 million people in the Caribbean over the last 4 decades and caused more than 22 billion, as I would say, Mr. Speaker, US dollars in economic damage. Mr. Speaker, 22 billion is piece of Jeff Bezos, you know. These disasters are not isolated events, Mr. Speaker. They are part of a pattern that is becoming more frequent, more intense, and more destructive for small island states like ours. Mr. Speaker, Grenada knows this reality all too well. Mr. Speaker, we had Hurricane Beryl recently, and according to international assessments referenced by the OECD, the IMF, and the World Bank, Hurricane Ivan, Mr. Speaker, in 2004 caused economic damage equivalent to more than 148% of Grenada's GDP and damaged roughly 90% of the nation's housing and infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, our house was damaged. Ivan almost go with me. One storm, Mr. Speaker, a few hours, and decades of development wiped away. Almost myself. And yet, Mr. Speaker, we must confront a painful truth. Countries like Grenada contribute almost nothing to global greenhouse gas emissions. Yet, we face some of the most severe consequences of climate change. According to regional research data conducted by UE, the Caribbean countries, Mr. Speaker, only contribute about 0.23% of global greenhouse gas emissions, despite being one of the most disaster-exposed regions in the entire world. Mr. Speaker, the nations least responsible for climate change are among the nations paying the highest price. But today's debate, Mr. Speaker, is not simply about describing the crisis. The purpose of this motion is to confront it. And Mr. Speaker, as the mover of the motion, I stand to advance 3 simple but critical principles that must guide our national response to climate change. First, climate resilience must become a critical part, a critical pillar of our national development. Disasters in the Caribbean do not only destroy infrastructure, they weaken entire economies. According to regional economic assessments done by UE, storms disrupt tourism, damage agriculture, destroy housing, and force governments to redirect scarce national resources toward recovery. When a hurricane destroys roads, houses, farms, and businesses, development stops and survival of the nation becomes a priority. If resilience is not embedded into how we design our infrastructure, housing systems, and national planning, we will remain trapped in a cycle of rebuilding with the same vulnerabilities again and again and again. Second, our national strategy must move from reactionary to preparation. Too often, Mr. Speaker, small island states are forced into a dangerous pattern, development, disaster, reconstruction. Mr. Speaker, in fact, the World Bank notes that climate disasters frequently lead to increased borrowing for reconstruction. And Mr. Speaker, I know the World Bank like that, which slows long-term development in vulnerable economies. Preparation, Mr. Speaker, is therefore not simply about safety. It is about economic stability. Every investment made in resilient infrastructure, sustainable energy systems, and climate-smart planning today prevents far, far greater losses tomorrow. Third, and most importantly, the final section of this motion calls for implementation. Mr. Speaker, the World Bank does not lack climate reports, conferences, or policy documents, but communities cannot shelter inside these reports, Mr. Speaker. Studies do not stop the storm surges. Studies do not stop the climate change. Strategies do not rebuild home, Mr. Speaker. It is action that does that. Mr. Speaker, this motion recognizes that Grenada must move beyond discussion and toward implementation. It calls for decisive progress in areas that strengthen our resilience as a nation. In the moments that follow, Mr. Speaker, members of this House will expand on these priorities. Honorable members will highlight the financial implications of climate vulnerability and why resilience is not only an environmental priority, but also an economic necessity. Others will address the importance of protecting our food systems and agricultural sector in the face of climate disruption. Members, Mr. Speaker, of this House will speak about resilient infrastructure, stronger communities, social protection for vulnerable populations, and the health implications of climate change for our citizens. Each of these perspectives, Mr. Speaker, strengthens the motion that is brought before this House. Because climate resilience is not the responsibility of one ministry, one sector, or one policy, Mr. Speaker, we, the government, see it as a national responsibility. Allow me to put this plainly. The cost of climate action may be high, but the cost of climate inaction is catastrophic. If we fail to prepare our country, our nation for the storms ahead, the storms will prepare our country, our nation, for failure. Climate change is not simply an environmental challenge. It is a developmental challenge. It is an economic challenge and a generational challenge. The youth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique will live with the consequences of the decisions that are made today. We are the generation that will rebuild after the storms. We are the generation that will inherit the economy that survives them. And we are the generation responsible for protecting these islands for the generations that follow. Mr. Speaker, the entirety of this motion therefore sends a clear, decisive message. Grenada must not simply acknowledge the climate crisis. Grenada must implement real solutions that strengthen national resilience and protect our future. The storms will come. The seas will rise. The wind will grow stronger. But if this nation commits itself to preparation, resilience, and decisive action, those storms will never define our future. Mr. Speaker, the youth of Grenada refuse to inherit a future defined by vulnerability. We choose to instead build a future defined by resilience, sustainability, and courage. And that is why I proudly move this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth Member for St. John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and, of course, permission to quote throughout my entire speech.
Permission granted.
To our onlookers, my colleagues, and to the heartbeat of our Caribbean civilization, our youth, good morning. I rise today in unyielding support of this resolution, which is a blueprint for our survival. Others look at our coastal geography, our vulnerability, and say that we are too small to make an impactful change. But I say, look at the Grenadian nutmeg. It is a small seed, modest in size, yet it drives an entire economy and leaves an indelible mark on every corner of the globe. Members of the opposition, the whereas clauses before this House are a charge sheet for a global economic crime. In a single afternoon, Hurricane Beryl carved out 16.5% of our GDP, this amongst US $218 million, Mr. Speaker. It didn't just break buildings. It was an attempt to cripple our youth's inheritance. Fellow colleagues, in a disaster-prone economy, time is liquidity. Therefore, let us protect our national treasury through operational efficiency. For example, in precision auditing, I recommend that the government of Grenada fully integrate our youth as pilots of the 2026 Disaster Drone Program and the Geographic Information System mapping, Mr. Speaker. This action will serve as a fiscal defense mechanism. Not forgetting instant liquidity, Mr. Speaker. It replaces weeks of annual assessments, triggers parametric insurers payout almost instantly, saving the Treasury from taking on expensive, high-interest loans during a crisis. With these, Mr. Speaker, one must not forget Grenada's credit rating defense. The high-tech resilience lowers our default risk in the eyes of the IMF and global lenders, thus enabling us to secure lower interest rates on national debt. With this integration, Mr. Speaker, Grenada can rebuild its domestic wealth retention. By training our own youth, we halt the exportation of our capital to foreign experts. To promote long-term financial security, I strongly recommend that the future national budgets prioritize investment in these areas, Mr. Speaker. Energy independence. The geothermal drilling at St. John can transition 15 megawatts of power, which can reduce our fuel import bill by US $25 million annually. This money is money staying in the pockets of our Grenadian people. In terms of debt stabilization, Mr. Speaker, through climate resilient debt clauses, we have already preserved $12.5 million in liquidity. And in the area of food security, I strongly recommend the continuity of funding agribusinesses to cut our $200 million food input bill by 25%. Mr. Speaker, that is $50 million kept in the pockets again of our Grenadian citizens. As Brother Morris taught us, and I quote, "We are not in anybody's backyard," end of quote. We must move as one Caribbean and demand that looters fill the loss and damage fund with grants and not loans, Mr. Speaker. Let the record reflect that we are not here to swim in poverty. We are here to manage our wealth. Mr. Speaker, can I have one additional minute to wrap up my speech?
Honourable Member, the double other bill to the end hasn't arrived as yet, but in the event when it does, I will grant you that minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will rise together as one Caribbean, not with a basket in our hands for handouts, but with a plan in our minds for a breakthrough. This is our path to a debt-free future. This is us nurturing our pure Grenada. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We, the National Youth Parliament, wish to acknowledge Ms. Hannah Paul, diplomat for the day, shadowing Mr. Victor Clark, the High Commissioner. Are there any other contributions to this resolution? Honorable Youth Member for St. Andrews Northeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning once again to all. Mr. Speaker, no one in this honorable House disputes that climate change is real or rejects climate action. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique experience its effects every year through stronger storms, hurricanes, coastal erosion, drought, pressure on our food systems. The opposition agrees that protecting our environment and strengthening our resilience must remain a national priority. This resolution confuses ambition with sound policy. Climate policy must be grounded in technical reality, institutional capacity, and economic stability. For these reasons, the opposition identifies several key weaknesses in the resolution. Point 1. Feasibility and infrastructure constraint. The weakness is that Grenada cannot realistically expand every type of renewable energy all at once. The resolution proposes expanding solar, wind, geothermal, and ocean energy simultaneously. While this may sound impressive, it ignores the current technical limitations of our energy infrastructure. According to Grenada's second nationally determined contribution, NDC, submitted to the UN, the country's electricity system has capacity limits and renewable energy must be added gradually so that the grid remains stable and reliable. No one likes it when Grenex suddenly take the current. The first thing you hear people say is, watch if Grenex spoil the TV, or them fellas, their new PS5 are soon Grenex. Poor Grenex. The same document also states that geothermal energy is in its exploratory phase, with no confirmed ability to produce energy at large capacity. In simple terms, both the technology and electricity infrastructure are still developing. We simply cannot add many different renewable energy technologies at once without major infrastructure upgrades. 2. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister said, let us move from discussion towards implementation. I agree. So let us strengthen what is already working. I'll make reference to 2 known projects. Grenada is already advancing solar energy and climate-smart agriculture. First, Grenex Renewable Energy Update in 2024 shows that Grenada is developing solar facilities expected to produce about 15 megawatts of electricity with battery storage to stabilize the grid. Second, the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program, which we know as SIAP, is already helping farmers through better irrigation, improved climate resilience farming techniques, and stronger rural businesses. However, according to Grenada's National Adaptation Plan 2025 to 2030, a major challenge in climate policy is the institutional capacity to implement programs effectively. We have an implementation problem. So increasing budget allocations without strengthening implementation systems may result in inefficient spending rather than effective climate action. The promise to spend more must be a promise of sustainability, and the resolution as written does not guarantee that sustainability. 3, reliance Regional reliance are central to Grenada's climate strategy. The third weakness is that the resolution places heavy emphasis on national spending, while Grenada's climate strategy already relies heavily on regional partnerships. I heard mention made to lobbying for grants as opposed to loans. But the reality is we do not already have those grants secured to be implemented. Through CARICOM institutions such as the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center and the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Facility, Caribbean countries have mobilized significant climate financing and disaster support, including rapid insurance payouts and regional reliance program. Small island states like Grenada rely on regional alliances because collective action improves access to climate funding, strengthens negotiating power, and allows countries to share disaster risks. This means Grenada's climate strategy must continue to work with regional and international partners rather than relying solely on national spending. Finally, Mr. Speaker, while the resolution calls for a rapid transition from fossil fuels, the opposition believes that completely reducing reliance on fossil fuels too quickly expose Grenada to serious economic and energy risks, especially given the current geopolitical climate. Around the world today, energy markets are disrupted because of major conflicts and geopolitical tensions. This demonstrates that energy security is just as important as energy transition. Nearby countries, such as Guyana, have already demonstrated how oil production can transform a small economy. According to the World Bank, oil production has dramatically increased Guyana's national revenues and economic growth. Further, as of 2025, Guyana was declared the only country in the world, a Caribbean country, to be have full food security, just 10 years after discovery of oil and 6 years after production for export. This shows how energy discoveries can rapidly shift economic and geopolitical influence, especially for small developing states. The opposition therefore believes Grenada should not completely close the door on potential future oil and gas exploration, especially if regional discoveries continue. It is known that Grenada may have untapped oil and gas resources, and we have commenced our own exploration of same. And also our soil is rich. Imagine what good this will do for our country if this exploration indeed proves that we have oil and gas. If the government is worried about where they're going to get the money for exploration, I want to importantly state that exploration does not have to burden the national budget. Governments around the world typically use product sharing agreements where private companies finance exploration and assume the financial risk. It's a win-win. Mr. Speaker, the real question is not whether Grenada should pursue renewable energy. Of course we should. The real question is whether Grenada should move so quickly away from fossil fuels that we weaken our energy security and economic stability, particularly at a time when the world is facing wars, geopolitical tensions, and unstable energy markets. The opposition does not reject climate action. What we reject is policy that promises more than it can realistically deliver. Responsible climate policy must balance ambition with feasibility, environmental goals with energy security, and investment with implementation capacity. For these reasons, the opposition cannot support the resolution in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Youth Member for St. George South.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if infrastructure is the foundation of our nation, what happens when that foundation begins to crack? Infrastructure is the backbone of our national development. Roads, bridges, ports, and electrical networks keep our economy running, connect communities, and strengthen resilience in times of crisis. Mr. Speaker, for small island states like Grenada, infrastructure must also be climate resilience, Mr. Speaker. We've experienced 2 traumatic hurricanes in the past, and I believe we don't want to go through the same instances as before, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, stronger hurricanes, flooding, drought, coastal erosion, and rising sea levels threaten our systems and coastal communities. Mr. Speaker, these challenges are already here. We're already facing it. And the infrastructure decisions we make today will shape our future for generations. Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change recognizes small island developing states as particularly vulnerable. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change special report on 1.5 degrees Celsius makes clear that limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level is critical to avoiding catastrophic impacts for islands like ours. Poor little Grenada, Mr. Speaker. 1.5 to stay alive is not just a slogan, Mr. Speaker. For small island states like Grenada, it's a lifeline. Mr. Speaker, imagine the carnage, Greenland's Beach, where we like to go on a Sunday. Tongue of St. George's, no longer there because of climate change. Imagine our tourism belt, a pillar of our economy, under severe threat. Imagine coastal farms and fishers struggling to survive under drought and flooding. The consequences for our country would be profound. Mr. Speaker, the science is clear. The risks are real, and the time to act is now. Reliable, climate-resilient infrastructure is the foundation of renewable energy, sustainable tourism, and effective disaster response. Without resilient infrastructure, renewable energy systems cannot operate efficiently. Tourism facilities become more vulnerable to storms and flooding. Disaster response becomes slower, extremely costly, and more dangerous. Mr. Speaker, we are already seeing the warning signs around the world. In the United States, particularly after the devastating California fires, insurance companies have begun reconsidering coverage in high-risk areas. In parts of the United States, the Northern Caribbean, insurers are also questioning whether homes exposed to floods and hurricanes should remain fully insured. Mr. Speaker, when something becomes uninsurable, it eventually becomes uninvestable. And when regions or sectors become uninvestable, economic development begins to slow. This is why resilience must be a national priority, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the resolution before this House calls for decisive budget-backed action in the 2027 national budget cycle, which is only fair, Mr. Speaker. It is not simply about environmental protection. It is a strategy for economic stability, national security, and sustainable development. Firstly, it addresses the need to reduce Grenada's dependence on imported fossil fuels. Heavy reliance on imported oil exposes our country to high electricity costs and global price fluctuations. Transitioning to renewable energy will strengthen energy security, improve affordability, and reduce vulnerability to external shocks. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the resolution emphasizes that disaster resilience must be a fiscal priority.
Thirdly, the resolution calls for climate-smart agriculture, sustainable fisheries, and marine conservation, Mr. Speaker. And fourthly, it highlights the need to protect tourism, a key pillar of our economy. Climate-resilient infrastructure, environmental standards, and risk management will safeguard the sector that provides jobs and income for thousands of Grenadians and secure our reputation as a leading Caribbean destination. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's energy policy already supports these priorities. It emphasizes resilient electricity grids, energy storage, decentralized generation, and reducing reliance on imported fossil fuels. Mr. Speaker, current projects demonstrate progress. Can I have 2 minutes to wrap up my speech, Mr. Speaker?
Honourable Member, I shall grant you 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Transmission of grids enabling a 15-megawatt solar project and geothermal exploration supported by international climate financing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these initiatives are structural reforms, not symbolic gestures. They strengthen energy security, cut fuel import costs, and improve resilience to climate shocks. Mr. Speaker, investing in resilience also advances key sustainable development goals. SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 9, resilient infrastructure, SDG 13, climate action, and SDG 2, zero hunger through climate-smart agriculture, Mr. Speaker. According to the Global Commission on Adaptation, every dollar invested in climate resilience can generate up to $6 in avoided losses. Mr. Speaker, if we build a smarter today, we lower recovery costs tomorrow. If we invest in renewable energy today, we reduce fuel inputs tomorrow. And if we strengthen our infrastructure today, we protect generations to come. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is practical, it is forward-looking, and it is necessary for the future of Grenada.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member for St. Patrick East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to everyone present here. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to support this resolution, not because it's on the agenda, but because I'm genuinely worried about what happens if we don't. Are you hearing me, Mr. Speaker? I see you have a sort of a frown on your face.
I'm hearing you loud and clear. You may proceed, Honourable Member.
Good. Now, climate change isn't a headline to us, as we all know. It's a thief, stealing the food off our plates and the money out of our pockets. And here's where our young people come in, Mr. Speaker. This resolution calls for climate-smart agriculture to enhance food security and protect farmers' livelihoods. That means strengthening Grenada's food systems, protecting farmers' livelihoods, and reducing our reliance on imported food. It means national youth agriculture training programs where students learn modern farming methods that make crops more resilient to storms and droughts. It also means national youth-led greenhouse cooperatives supported by government and private partners where young Canadians can earn while they learn to produce crops resilient to storm and droughts. And of course it means scholarships and internships, Mr. Speaker, in renewable energy-powered farming, so our next generation sees agriculture not as hard work and old tools, but instead as science, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And of course, there's a sea. Mr. Speaker, you can't talk about Grenada without talking about the ocean. But the ocean is changing. When we invest in our fishers, it isn't just about handing out a new net. No. It's about building landing sites that won't get washed away by the first big surge. It's about using data and modern practices to find where the fish are hiding now that the water is warming up. I'm sure the fishers will understand what I'm talking about. And it's about youth marine innovation labs, where young Grenadians can test new ways to track fish stocks and protect our blue economy. Mr. Speaker, we all know what happens after a storm. We spend millions rebuilding. We spend even more millions importing food just because our own crops were wiped out. Now that is hand-to-mouth economics. I'm suggesting let's spend $1 today on a greenhouse so we don't have to spend 100 tomorrow on disaster relief. Let's spend $1 today on youth training so we don't have to spend 100 tomorrow on unemployment programs. And let's be clear about one thing, Mr. Speaker. Food security is national security. Think about it. If we can't feed ourselves today, then every other policy we debate here loses its meaning. For the strength of a nation begins with the nourishment of its people, Mr. Speaker. When we invest in farmers and fishers, we are investing in the strength and security of our country. When we invest in youth-led climate-smart agriculture, we are investing in Grenada's future resilience. To the young people of this nation, agriculture isn't just hard work and old tools. Instead, it's modern farming, it's resilience, it's science. It's a way to make a real living while saving our island. It's a chance to lead the fight against climate change, not just watch it happen. Because when you take charge of the soil and the sea, you take charge of Grenada's survival. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth Member for Carriacou and Petite Martinique.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members and young people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, I rise today not only as a representative in this House, but as a young citizen of our tri-island state who will live with the decisions we make today. Mr. Speaker, for our young people across our small islands, climate change is not a distant reality, nor is it something that we read about only in reports. We have lived through it, Mr. Speaker. This is the reality shaping our future, our opportunities, and the islands we will inherit. Mr. Speaker, when Hurricane Beryl struck Carriacou and Petite Martinique on July 1st, 2024, quite early in the hurricane season, it did not simply damage buildings, Mr. Speaker. Our fishing vessels lost, our mangroves destroyed, our livelihoods disrupted. It exposed our vulnerabilities, Mr. Speaker. The financial impact alone required over $44 million in emergency payouts to regional disaster insurance. And might I add to you, Mr. Speaker, even that was not enough. Showing the enormous strain climate disasters place on small economies like ours. Yet the true cost of storms like these extend beyond financial loss. They do not only damage homes, Mr. Speaker, and infrastructure, they also set back years of development and progress. In Carriacou, for example, the Limlet Solar PV hybrid plant, Grenada's first utility-scale solar project, funded through the United Arab Emirates Caribbean Renewable Energy Fund, had only recently begun operations before Hurricane Beryl. The project included more than 1,400 solar panels and 856 kilowatts of storage capacity, designed to reduce diesel dependence and provide cleaner, more reliable electricity for our islands. Yet within hours, Mr. Speaker, the hurricane severely damages multi-million-dollar investment, setting back an important step towards energy independence and sustainability. Mr. Speaker, this experience reminds us that smaller islands often face greater challenges when recovering from disasters because of our size, limited infrastructure, heavy reliance on coastal livelihoods such as fishing and tourism. And Mr. Speaker, while I acknowledge concerns raised by oppositions, we cannot ignore the harsh reality before us. The challenges of climate change are already affecting our islands, our communities, and our economies. And the real question before this House, if we do not act now, when we will? Delaying meaningful action will not make these challenges disappear. Think about it. And that is precisely why this resolution is important. First, Mr. Speaker, it calls for accelerating our transition to renewable energy. Across the Caribbean, more than 85% of our electricity generation relies on imported fossil fuel, leaving our economies exposed to global price shocks and high energy costs. For young people especially, energy security matters. Affordable and sustainable energy supports education, innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic opportunity. Second, Mr. Speaker, the resolution prioritizes climate-smart agriculture. Young farmers and rural communities must be equipped with the tools, knowledge, technologies needed to adapt to changing weather patterns and protect our nation's food security and agricultural heritage. Third, Mr. Speaker, we must protect our marine ecosystem and fisheries, and this we hold dear to our hearts in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. This provides livelihood, strengthen tourism, and sustain our coastal communities. Regional research already shows declining coral reefs across the Caribbean due to climate pressures threatening the ecosystems that support our blue economy. Mr. Speaker, need I say more? I say this in closing. The storms are becoming stronger. The seas are rising steadily. And as youth parliamentarian, Mr. Speaker, please indulge me in 30 more seconds to wrap up my speech.
30 seconds granted.
Thank you. As youth parliamentarians, we shape the future and the legacy of our islands. Today's decision will determine whether we endure or emerge stronger. So I say through you, Mr. Speaker, let us choose innovation over hesitation, resilience over vulnerability, and long-term sustainability over short-term thinking for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, and for generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth Member for St. Patrick East.
Mr. Speaker, fellow youth parliamentarians, members of this honorable House, audience in the gallery, a pleasant good morning. Before I continue, I would like to say Happy Commonwealth Day to all, and most importantly, Happy International Women's Day to all young ladies and women in this room. I rise today to support this important resolution addressing climate change and sustainable development in Grenada, including our sister islands, Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Mr. Speaker, climate change is not a distant issue for our nation. It is our lived reality. Our people have already felt the devastating impacts of stronger hurricanes, rising sea levels, floodings, and coastal erosions. These disasters continue to threaten our communities, our economy, and our environment. These challenges affect every sector of our country, including education. Mr. Speaker, if we didn't learn from Emily and Ivan, I hope we learn from Beryl. Whether big or small, strong or not, these disasters take just hours to knock us off our feet, but yet we spend years building back and getting back on our feet. When disaster occurs, schools are damaged, communities are disrupted, and learning is interrupted. Additionally, the financial burden of rebuilding after climate-related disasters forces the government to redirect funds that could otherwise be used to strengthen education, healthcare, and national development. But, Mr. Speaker, within this challenge lies an opportunity for progress and innovation. By accelerating the transition to renewable energy, such as solar, wind, geothermal, and ocean energy, we can reduce our dependency on fossil fuels while protecting our environment. At the same time, these initiatives create opportunities for our young people to learn new skills and prepare for career in green industries. As the Minister of Education, I believe our school must play a role in this transformation. Climate education and sustainability should continue to be integrated into our school's curriculum so that students not only understand climate change, but are also equipped to develop solutions. Schools can serve as an example of sustainability by adapting energy-efficient systems and renewable technologies, allowing students to see solutions and in practice. Mr. Speaker, this resolution also calls for strong allocations in the 2027 budget to support sustainable development in key sectors. Climate-smart agriculture will strengthen food security and protect farmers' livelihood. Sustainable fisheries and marine conservation will preserve our ocean resources, and a resilient tourism sector will ensure that our natural environment continues to support one of our country's most important industries. But none of this initiative will succeed without education. Our young people must be equipped with knowledge, skills, and the mindset necessary to lead Grenada into a sustainable future. Today's students will become tomorrow's leaders, scientists, farmers, entrepreneurs, and policymakers. By investing in climate action today, we are investing in the future and the future of our nation. Mr. Speaker, protecting our environment is not only about preserving nature, but also about protecting the livelihoods, opportunities, and well-being of our people. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, as Minister of Education, I proudly support this resolution and encourage all members of this Honorable House to stand together in building a stronger, greener, and more resilient Grenada for present and future generations. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Are there any other contributions to this resolution? Honorable Youth Member for St. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, fellow youth parliamentarians and distinguished guests, good morning. Now, I will try to be as short and quick as possible. But mentally, I'm not in the frame of mind to do so. We gather here to debate a resolution that calls for Grenada to accelerate its transition to renewable energy and allocate significant funds in the 2027 budget for climate smart development. Now, let me be clear. I am in no way opposed to the idea of renewable energy seeing the negative effects of climate change. But while the intent of the resolution is noble, I rise to argue that it is overly ambitious, financially risky, and in need of some diligent amendments. Now let's be real, Mr. Speaker. Based on the National Sustainable Development Plan 2020-2025, the government has set targets of 20% renewable energy by 2027 and 40% by 2030. Grenada's energy sector remains heavily dependent on imported fossil fuels. According to the Caribbean Development Bank's 2023 energy report card, renewable energy contributes to less than 2% of Grenada's electricity generation capacity. Now, the resolution, Mr. Speaker, is pretty vague in its approach. So based on the National Sustainable Development Plan, Mr. Speaker, if we are struggling to reach 2% in almost 7 years, how do we intend to accelerate the transition to 20% and 18% increase by next year? That's like saying, I've just learned to swim in the shallow end of a pool, and I want to swim across the Atlantic Ocean tomorrow, please God. Ambition is good, but drowning in debt is not. Mr. Speaker, we hear how much we could save by switching, but let's be honest, Mr. Speaker, as a collective, CARICOM helped mobilize US $500 million in climate financing for Caribbean countries. Based on recent World Bank and Caribbean Development Bank facility upgrades can be of estimated cost of between 150 and 130 million US dollars for 80 kilometers of transmission lines and installing 20 megawatts of battery storage. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique are indeed vulnerable to the harsh realities of climate change. Hurricanes, floodings, and coastal erosion threaten our livelihoods and our future. But let's not confuse urgency with recklessness. A sudden large-scale push into renewable energy with a proper planning risks draining our limited resources and increasing our national debt. Mr. Speaker, Grenada is already operating on a limited budget. Are we going to cut back spending in other sectors? What sectors are we going to sacrifice to speed up this development? As of December 2024, Grenada's debt to GDP ratio remains around 70%. So when the resolution calls for significant allocations in the 2027 budget, I must ask, significant for whom? For the climate? Yes. But perhaps catastrophic for our classrooms and hospitals. We cannot afford to rob Peter to pay Paul. Mr. Speaker, according to International Labour Organization report on the green jobs, the transition is only sustainable if local workforce is ready. Instead, Mr. Speaker, I propose a phased approach. Let us be clear. Let us set clear, achievable milestones so that progress is steady and realistic. Moreover, climate action must be inclusive and empowering. We must invest in capacity building. Or are we going to import labor and strain our economy even more by ensuring money is being funded out of the country instead of remaining here? Mr. Speaker, I propose training programs for young engineers and technicians. Now, the Youth Minister of Education proposed education, yes. But education in what areas? Because you could educate anybody in anything. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to fall in line with what is needed. Now, community consultation must be at the heart of every project so that the renewable energy and climate smart agriculture reflects the needs and values of our people. We all agree Grenada must act on climate change. But let's be honest, we're in the sports season, so I will use analogy, right? This resolution is like promising to run a marathon tomorrow when you only started jogging in the park today. Ambition is good, but a pool ambition and empty water is not. If we rush into massive renewable energy projects, without proper planning, we end up with more water than wind energy, more debt than solar panels. And trust me, Mr. Speaker, the only thing that will be rising higher than sea levels is our national debt. So, on this, thank you, and may our climate policies be as resilient as our people.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Youth Member for St. George Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, permission to quote through the entirety of my speech, please.
Permission granted.
We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. A Native American proverb. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, specially invited guests, well-wishers, those words remind us that stewardship is not just symbolic. It is practical and it is measurable. In the context of today's resolution, this is urgent. For Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martinique, climate change is not some distant projection, Mr. Speaker. It is an ever-present reality, bringing with it rising temperatures, stronger hurricanes, disrupted floods, disrupted food systems, and increasing pressure on public health systems. As Youth Minister for Health, Mental Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs, I recognize that climate change is a health vulnerability. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my full support to the resolution brought before this Honourable House. Mr. Speaker, the resolution calls for significant allocation towards climate-smart agriculture, and we definitely support this because we understand that food security is the foundation to national wellness. When climate shocks disrupt agriculture, the reduced access to local food increases reliance on imported processed foods, worsening chronic disease in the long term. The resolution further calls for the accelerating and transitioning towards renewable energy and reducing reliance on fossil fuels. From a healthcare perspective, Mr. Speaker, this is critical. In 2025, a cross-cutting report from the Global Climate and Health Alliance revealed the devastating impact on health from fossil fuels. It confirmed that the burning of fossil fuels harm human health at every stage of life, increasing the risk for respiratory illnesses, chronic diseases, among others. So, Mr. Speaker, cleaner energy reduces our exposure at the source. Beyond pollution, Mr. Speaker, renewable energy strengthens our resilience. In the wake of natural disasters, our hospitals must continue to function, vaccines must remain refrigerated, mental health services must remain accessible. As disasters can create anxiety, trauma, long-term stress for communities that experience repeated storms and even displacement at times. Accelerating renewable energy, protects patients, safeguards infrastructure, and reduces the long-term burden. Mr. Speaker, this is preventative health at a national level. Mr. Speaker, it is said that those who refuse to learn from the errors of the past are bound to repeat them. So, Mr. Speaker, the nation remembers, and I remember, the year 2024. I'm not so sure of my colleagues on the other side. 2024 bears the record of a historic drought that forced us into a drought emergency that gripped agriculture, strained our supply, and tested our resilience. That very year, Hurricane Beryl ravaged the sister islands and the northern communities, compounding this damage. The months that followed were among the most difficult periods for food security. I'm not sure you remember. Crops require time to grow, and as a result, national food stock obviously declined. Mr. Speaker, the present reality is this. When nutritious food becomes scarce, householders shift towards cheaper processed alternatives. That shift carries with it immense consequences, not just for households, but for hospital and institutional dietary services, school feeding, and other feeding programs alike. Mr. Speaker, I propose therefore that climate instability breeds health instability. Mr. Speaker, the resolution today is not unreasonable or overly ambitious as my colleagues on the other side propose. It's simply asking us to pick up the pace. Reduce reliance on fossil fuel imports and transition. We cannot continue to drag our feet, and we certainly cannot continue to kick the can down the road. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind this Honourable House again that national goals depend on our health. must protect it today and not postpone it for tomorrow. We do not inherit this beautiful tri-island state from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. And it is for these reasons, Mr. Speaker, I offer my unequivocal support to this resolution. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Youth Member for St. David.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, by the time I finish this sentence, another 17,500 tons of glacial ice will have melted into our oceans. It is a current reality confirmed by the World Meteorological Organization and the glacier mass balance intercurrent. One second. And the glacier mass balance inter-comparison exercise. By the time I finish this 5-minute speech, that number will be 5.2 million tons. Grenada, including Carriacou and Petite Martinique, sits on the front line of the climate crisis. Our small size, our coastal settlements, our dependence on tourism, agriculture, and fisheries. It means very simply that you are exposed. And we know it. In a few years, honorable youth member for the tongue of St. George, we won't have to look at a glacier to see the impact. We'll have to look at the carnage. According to the Carnage Enhancement Plan, we have already reached the threshold where our capital's main artery faces daily flooding. And by 2080, if we do nothing, the water I'm talking about today will sit 7 feet above the road where we walk, where we eat, and where we do business. In 2004, Ivan destroyed 90% of our housing stock. In 2024, barrels splintered Carriacou and Petite Martinique. A lived experience by our honorable member for Carriacou and Petite Martinique. And there is injustice, Mr. Speaker. Grenada contributes less than 0.01% of global emissions. Yet we are the ones borrowing and we are the ones sacrificing to survive. And let's be real. The climate is moving faster than a Suzuki Ignis flying on a bypass road at 2 in the morning. We're out there trying to plan for 2030, but the weather is clearly acting like can't behave according to voice. Climate-related disasters divert resources from education. It diverts resources from healthcare and youth empowerment. Every dollar spent on repairing a school roof is a dollar not spent on upgrading digital classrooms. Every dollar used to reconstruct homes is a dollar not invested in entrepreneurship or housing expansion. Our debt grows not because we are reckless, but because we are vulnerable. And Mr. Speaker, vulnerability does not discriminate. It don't watch face, it don't watch gender. Women head a significant portion of low-income households in this country. After disasters, it is women who shoulder unpaid care burdens. It is the youth who face interrupted education. It is persons with disabilities who struggle in shelters not built for accessibility. It is rural farmers who lose crops to drought and flooding with no insurance safety net. Mr. Speaker, when I say climate action is social development, I mean it. And therefore, this House must strongly urge that the 2027 budget be a document of radical implementation. We must embed gender-responsive budgeting at every core of our climate finance. Climate change doesn't have a one-size-fits-all impact, so we cannot have a one-size-fits-all recovery. If women heading a household in rural St. David, or the fisherman pulling the boat up in Guave, is not at the center of the budgeting conversation, then our strategy has already failed the people it is meant to protect. We must make resilient housing a right, not a privilege. It is time to give our national building code teeth. We need aggressive incentives for housing straps, solar-ready roofing, water storage for the most vulnerable. Resilience should not be something you get because you have deep pockets, Mr. Speaker. 5 minutes ago, I told you we are about to lose 5.2 million tons of ice. As I stand here, that ice is on. It is currently raising the sea level of every coastline on this planet. We cannot get those 5 minutes back. And we cannot freeze that water again. But we can dry the tears of Mother Nature and prepare for what is to come in the next 5 minutes, in the next 5 months, in the next 5 years. The clock is ticking. And let's make the next 5 minutes count. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Members of the gallery, please refrain from showing any bias, and we ought to remain, as was stated, strangers in the gallery. Honorable Youth Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I rise to firstly thank the honorable members on the other side for their contributions to this debate. I must say, Mr. Speaker, I noticed a fascinating pattern in the speeches from the honorable members on the other side, from since the beginning of time, well, in reference to when we got sworn in. Mr. Speaker, they would always come and start the speeches and say, we agree, you know, but. We like it, you know, but. Mr. Speaker, if the honorable members truly agree with the motion, I would invite them to come to the other side. But Mr. Speaker, as you can see, one seat we have today is space tight. So whoever reached there first, we welcome it all. Mr. Speaker, another pattern is beginning to emerge in these debates. When this government presents a resolution that's too short, the honorable members on the other side say, you know what, you don't go yet. Like, you can't bring that to the House. But when we bring something to the House, Mr. Speaker, that is detailed and comprehensive like this one, suddenly the argument becomes that it's too ambitious and too much. So, Mr. Speaker, through you, I'd like to ask the members on the other side, which one is it? Mr. Speaker, that is a clear example as to why you have to live your life for yourself and nobody else. You can't please people. Mr. Speaker, the honorable members also described the resolution as overly ambitious and financially risky. But that argument reminded me of something from our own written history. By that same logic, Mr. Speaker, one could have stood in the chamber decades ago and argued that Sir Eric Matthew Geary's pursuit of independence for Grenada was overly ambitious and financially risky. After all, we were a small island with limited resources and developing institutions, yet Grenada did not remain a colony. We pursued it, Mr. Speaker. We pursued independence. And shortly after becoming an independent nation, our economy grew, our institutions strengthened, and our national identity flourished. History teaches us something important. Ambition is not always a danger. Sometimes ambition is exactly what moves a nation forward. Mr. Speaker, the honorable members on the other side also argued that renewable energy will still depend on fossil fuels in the short term, and therefore transition is unrealistic. But that observation, Mr. Speaker, actually strengthens the argument for the motion rather than weakens it. Transitions do not happen overnight. They happen step by step. The fact that a transition is gradual is not a reason to avoid it. No, Mr. Speaker. It is the very reason why planning and implementation must begin now. Earlier in this debate, the honorable members on the other side asked Mr. Speaker that we should move from discussion to implementation. Mr. Speaker, when I heard that, I almost jumped out of my seat and applauded, Mr. Speaker, as Vibes Hartel said, and if life could rewind, I would have rewound it again to applaud properly, because we agree. Mr. Speaker, that position is a bit like telling the driver to press the accelerator and the brakes at the same time. Like they want us to do a burnout. I don't understand. Mr. Speaker, while we debate whether transition is ambitious, the evidence continues to grow. As my honorable member mentioned, by the time he started his speech, he was X.X million, and when he finished, he was 5-point-something million. Mr. Speaker, across the Caribbean, climate disasters have already started to affect more than 24 million people and caused over 22 billion, as I would say again, Mr. Speaker, US USD dollars in economic damage over the last 4 decades. Grenada itself understands the cost of delay. According to international assessments referenced by the World Bank and the IMF, Hurricane Ivan, as I stated earlier in my first speech, Mr. Speaker, caused economic damage equivalent to more than 148% of Grenada's GDP, and damaged nearly 90% of our housing stock. One storm, a few hours, and decades of development wiped away. Mr. Speaker, the opposition tells us that we must move carefully. They may sound reasonable, but the storms are not moving carefully, Mr. Speaker. The seas are not rising any slowly. The glaciers aren't melting any slowly. Mr. Speaker, these things aren't happening slowly enough for our debates to keep a pace. So the real question before this House today is not whether that climate action should ever happen, Even the opposition agrees that it must, as they continually state. The real question is whether we as a nation have the courage to implement the solutions that we already know are necessary. Mr. Speaker, this government side believes that it is time for us to stop the hesitation. That's passed. And that is why we firmly stand to support in this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, the question is that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are highly vulnerable to the adverse impacts of climate change due to their small size, coastal geography, and dependence on climate-sensitive economic sectors. And whereas Grenada has experienced increasing intensity of hurricanes, storm surges, flooding, droughts, coastal erosion, coral reef degradation, and rising sea levels, all of which threaten national development, food security, infrastructure, biodiversity, and public health. And whereas climate-related disasters place a disproportionate financial burden on Grenada, diverting national resources from education, healthcare, and economic growth, while increasing public debt. And whereas Grenada has demonstrated leadership in climate action through its nationally determined contributions, disaster risk reduction policies, and regional and international climate advocacy, and whereas meaningful climate action is essential to safeguarding Grenada's people, culture, livelihoods, and natural heritage for present and future generations, be it resolved that Grenada accelerates the transition to renewable energy by reducing reliance on fossil fuel imports, expands solar, wind, geothermal, and ocean energy initiatives, and supports energy efficiency and community-based renewable projects. Be it further resolved that the 2027 budget provides significant allocations to support sustainable development in key economic sectors, particularly in the areas of climate-smart agriculture to enhance food security and protect farmers' livelihoods, sustainable fisheries and marine conservation, and a resilient and environmentally responsible tourism sector. As many as are in favor that the resolution be agreed, say aye.
Aye.
and those of the contrary opinion, nay.
Nay.
I believe the ayes have it, the ayes do have it. This resolution has been agreed.
Adjournment.
Senator Civil Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I normally say Madam President, so it feels good to say Mr. Speaker this morning. To the youth parliamentarians and to the strangers in the gallery, thank you so much for being here. Allow me to recognize Mr. Victor Clark and the team from the Commonwealth, part of the Commonwealth Association, and to Minister Delma Thomas. Pleasant morning to you as well. I am very much pleased to have witnessed what transpired here this morning, and I am pleased for many reasons. One, it indicates that our country is heading in the right direction, and it means that our future is safe. And yes, we are grappling with the effects of climate change and climate resilience that we need to embody, but I do believe that we are resilient people. And I always say that once we can overcome our mind, we can overcome anything. And so this morning, what I witnessed is the resilience of our young people who are now breaking those glass ceilings and lending their voices to support the cause that we are fighting for. Not for this generation, but I would also like to quote from, or to take from the MP for St. George Northeast, when he mentioned that we're borrowing from our children. That's what you said, right? Yes, and that was a very profound statement, because it means that what we're doing right now, we are preparing for the future. And the future is every second of every minute that we are here. But Mr. Speaker, I also would like to say that the debate on changing and building resilience for the climate challenges that we are dealing with reminds us that the challenges of climate change are not distant possibilities. And when we look around, we see how our shorelines are getting closer to the land. And we see it in the droughts that we're facing. We see it in when we are advocating for NASA to build more dams and to have all these projects, Mr. Speaker. But I'm seeing the real experiences of climate change being exhibited throughout our island states. And our young people understood this reality deeply, and I heard the passion coming through the presentations this morning. Mr. Speaker, our young people demonstrated that they have the ideas, they have the passion, and most importantly, they have the leadership to confront it. And the ideas and the passion is not enough. But when I think of the work that you have been doing in terms of advocacy, championing and lending your voices, it means that you're doing more than just showing your ideas. Resilience is for all of us in this room and beyond this room. It is not only about building the stronger foundations or the infrastructures after the storm or to weather the storm. It is also about strengthening the policies that we have to put in place a collective will because it affects us all. You see, for me, when I see young people in spaces like these, debating and questioning and challenging the status quo and proposing the solutions, I believe that our future is being shaped in the right direction. I commend each of you who participated here today. Your voices matter. Don't take that for granted. Your perspectives are valuable and your leadership is essential as we continue working towards a more sustainable and resilient nation. And I say to you this morning, do not take the opportunity lightly. My memory is jogged to when myself and Honorable Kerry-Ann Marras and Honorable Joshua Andwell, we went to Namibia last year to the first consultative dialogue, Commonwealth Dialogue. And one of the things that the young people across the Commonwealth regions clamored for was for young people to have a seat at the table and to have their voices heard. And what you have here right now is what young people across the world is desperately asking for. And so I say to you this morning, you are the change makers that a lot of young people are searching for. So continue to be just that. Mr. Speaker, as I close, I want us to move forward today, reminded that the fight against climate change requires partnership across generations. And to borrow from the ministerial update from the youth parliamentarian for St. John, when she mentioned that in order for us as young people to move forward, we have to appreciate our past. And so this is a call for generational partnership. We do not eliminate because our young people feel like we have all the ideas, but we have to also stand on the strength of the elders and those who have paved the way, because we need the traditional ideas and the innovative ideas in order for us to win this fight that we are fighting. And most importantly, to remind us that the youth of our nation must always be at the center of that conversation. So challenge us as leaders to ensure that we have the opportunities and the spaces for you to thrive and to be bold and to be brave and to be disruptive for a cause that we will win. Thank you, and I encourage you to continue leading, advocating, and building for a resilient future that we all deserve. Happy Commonwealth Day. And it will also be remiss of me if I did not lend my voice to say happy belated International Women's Day to all our beautiful women and girls, the queens of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I sat as a complete stranger in the chambers and I was so deeply impressed by the presentation by our youth parliamentarian. You know, our future, our now, is so bright as it relates to our young people. And so I want to say, as all the others in the chambers, recognize our women and girls present here this morning to say happy belated International Women's Day. You know, as I looked around and I look at the leaders, yes, our men are present and we must acknowledge them, but our women, you are true leaders. And the truth is, we cannot do without the male folks. So we need both sexes, our male and our female. But at this point, we are celebrating the strive our women made over the years and even now. And so I say, I am so proud of you as I look at the teachers in the female with the children and the young ladies so neatly dressed present here. I'm also impressed by the number of students present in the audience. You know, you are part of the history. And I want to thank the Commonwealth Secretariat for this special sitting and for allowing our youth parliamentarian to be a part of this very important initiative. I also like to acknowledge Anna Paul, the diplomat for a day. And diplomat for a day didn't mean somebody just put a list of names in a hat and pick her out. It was part of competition, and she won. So let us commend Anna. Today is a special opportunity to see our young people step into the role of leadership and governance as we observe Commonwealth Day through this youth parliament sitting. The Commonwealth represents a family of nations united by shared values, democracy, good governance, respect, and opportunity for all. Today, those values come alive right here in these chambers, and we saw how it came alive with the debate among our youth parliamentarians. Youth parliament is a space where young people or young minds can think critically, and critical thinking is so very important. It speaks confidently and engage meaningful in the issues that affect our country and our communities. It reminds us that leadership is not something reserved for the future, Mr. Speaker. It begins now, with young people who are willing to learn, participate, and serve the country. I really want to encourage you to continue to use this platform to express your ideas, challenge perspective respectfully, and embrace the responsibility that comes with having a voice in a national dialogue. And as I listen to the different youth parliamentarians speaking of work that has been done in the constituency, that speaks volume. So we are saying that we are already seeing future parliamentarians take over the role from us who will be exiting not long from now, you know. So we have to leave room for young people. And the truth is, it's now. You don't have to wait until you reach 40 and 50 to want to lead. But I'm happy that you are taking the lead now. So to me, the transition, when that time comes, will be so easy. The future of Grenada depends on engaged and informed young leaders. And today's sitting is a clear reminder that the next generation is truly ready to play its part. Thank you, and I wish you a successful and inspiring Commonwealth Day. Happy Commonwealth Day to everyone, and I want to once again commend Mr. Victor and members of the Commonwealth Secretariat for engaging us as a ministry and as a government to have this beautiful engagement with our young people in the chambers and to see all the young children and teachers present in the audience. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And at this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Victor Clark, who would also address the room.
A very good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A very good morning to everybody, in particular the youth parliamentarians, but also everybody in the gallery. So I'm hoping this morning with the young diplomat for the day, Hannah Paul, she, I hope, will be learning part of what I've learned also this morning. You know, a big part of the job of being a diplomat is to listen. We talk a lot, but we also try to listen, even more than we talk. Because, you know, for a successful Commonwealth of Nations, 56 countries across the world, almost 3 billion people, there needs to be a lot of listening. For those understandings to traverse across those countries. Half of the 56 nations in the Commonwealth are small island developing states. So don't be surprised at how much of an influence and how much of a voice small island developing states has within the institution of the Commonwealth. It is a constantly evolving institution, and I think more and more each year it is being shaped by the opinions, by the views of each and every member, state, but in particular the impact that climate change has had on small island developing states is a huge priority and focus for the Commonwealth. There has also been a growth, I think, and an understanding of the importance of youth within the Commonwealth. And that is why there are kind of regular annual meetings, which the Senator referred to one that happened earlier in the last 12 months. But there are regular kind of institutions and engagements across the Commonwealth institutions, regular opportunities such as the Commonwealth Scholarship Fund and opportunities to study and further enhance knowledge and skills to be able to take forward some of the solutions which were outlined here during the debate this morning. But I am impressed. I'm very pleased to have been able to bear witness this morning to the vigorous debate around the issue of climate change. It is of huge significance for not just Grenada, but the entire planet moving forward. And certainly, I think all Commonwealth nations are aligned in that desire, belief and passion that has been shown today here by the youth of Grenada that we really need to find those innovative solutions, plan strategically of how to transition towards renewable energy and the best use of our resources, ensuring that nations are able to be sovereign, be energy independent, and be able to safeguard their own futures and that of their children, who will most certainly inherit. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The President of the Senate, Honourable Senator Decima Williams, Honourable Minister for Youth, Sports and Mental Health, Honourable Delma Thomas, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Senator Cyril Francis, Mr. Victor Clark, British Resident Commissioner, and Ms. Hannah Paul, diplomat for the day accompanying Mr. Clark, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Mrs. Kim Frederick, other permanent secretaries present in the gallery, Coordinator of Youth, Ms. Caroline Perriman, Acting Clerk of Parliament, Ms. Melvina Gulston, members and staff at the Division of Youth, distinguished guests, students, and all other attendees. It is an honor and a privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at the close of this very meaningful Commonwealth Day sitting. First, allow me to express sincere appreciation to Mr. Speaker for presiding over today's sitting with guidance, fairness, and professionalism. We are especially grateful for the presence of our distinguished officials and partners whose participation today reflects a strong commitment to youth engagement. In particular, we wish to express our heartfelt thanks to the Honourable Minister for Youth, Delma Thomas, Ms. Delma Thomas, and Parliamentary Secretary Senator Cyril Francis, and Mr. Victor Clark for your kind and encouraging words extended to us today. Your support and affirmation remind us that our voices matter and that young people have an important role to play in shaping the future of our nation. Thank you. A special word of appreciation must be extended to Dr. Tessa Sincere, our facilitator, who works tirelessly with us and continue to guide and mentor us. Your dedication to youth leadership and civic development has made our experience possible today. And for that, we are truly thankful. I would also like to acknowledge the Division of Youth and its hard-working staff, along with Coordinator of Youth, Ms. Carlin Perriman, Permanent Secretary Kim Frederick, and Assistant Coordinator of Youth and our Program Manager, Ms. Janella Edwards, whose efforts behind the scenes help make initiatives like these possible. To our distinguished guests, students, and members of the audience, thank you for joining us today as we observe Commonwealth Day. As some of us vacate this seat within this year, we hope to see some of the young faces that join us today sitting right here. The call is out and we encourage you to sign up to be a youth parliamentarian once you're within the age range of 16 to 35. As we conclude today's sitting, may the discussions and exchanges we witness serve as a reminder that the future of our nation and our Commonwealth depends on continued collaboration, dialogue, and active participation from all sectors of society. On behalf of everyone involved, my fellow colleagues, and I participating in this sitting, I extend sincere gratitude to each of you for contributing to the success of today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. And Honorable Members, as we come to a close and then bring forward the adjournments, my mind runs on our sister nation. Well, sister to some degree. And this nation is located on the other side of the world, known as Tuvalu. Tuvalu is a Commonwealth nation, just as we are a Commonwealth nation. And they are also a member of SIDS, which is Small Island Developing States. Now, the youth MP for St. David stated during his speech that by 2080, I believe, the Carenage, a place where we all love to walk, would have 7 feet of water engulfing it. Now, Tuvalu is also going through a similar crisis, and in fact, one can even say it's worse than what we have here in Grenada, whereby Tuvalu is currently one of the nations that is rapidly going underwater, and they are actually becoming one of the first digitalized nations. And though one might see our efforts may be minuscule if we try to do anything, well, I would say for climate resilience and climate change, I still believe that it's in the best effort that we as a nation try our best to curb whatever issues, whatever challenges, I should say, that we may face as a nation to help curb the climate issues that we have. So this is just a little food for thought, and throughout the entire presentation, as I stated, my mind ran heavily on the nation of Tuvalu. Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to move this House be adjourned. Signed, did I?
Honorable Members, the question is that this House stands adjourned Sine die. Honorable members, the question proposed is that this House stands adjourned. Sine die. As many are of that opinion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those of the contrary opinion, nay. I believe the ayes have it, the ayes do have it. This House stands adjourned. Sine die.
All right.